Welcome back to the shop. This is part 2 of the CRF450 top end rebuild. This is a 2018, but like I mentioned in the first video, this is going to work from 17 to 23 for the most part. They're pretty much about the same. In part 1, I went ahead and changed the intake valves, the timing chain, and I was about ready to put it together until I realized that the cylinder had a worn spot in it. So we have a brand new cylinder here. Let's take a look at it. Open it up like $350 later. If you missed part 1, down in the description will be a link to part 1 of this video. You're definitely going to want to catch that if you're trying to do your own top end on the CRF450. This one is just the assembly part of the top end, but here we go. Let me cut it out of the bag, see what we got. Alright, let's compare it to the old one. Make sure they sent us the right one, you know. Yeah, it looks about the same. Interesting. Oh yeah, okay, they got the same markings right there. Yeah. Alright, now let's go ahead and grab the Wiseco piston. Let's just test the fit. And then while I'm at it, I'll discuss why we chose to go with the Wiseco. Well, to be quite honest with you, for this build, we went with the Wiseco mainly because it was cheaper. But that doesn't mean this is a cheap piston. Matter of fact, this piston does have some pros to it over the OEM piston. But first, let me check the fit here. You'll notice that the circlip, the wrist pin on this one is shiny silver, and this one has that black coating. This is the OEM one. And that's what really makes getting the OEM piston expensive. Is the fact that wrist pin is like 85 bucks or something like that. So when you add that with the piston and the rings, it makes the OEM piston a little bit more expensive than the Wiseco. But the Wiseco is a good forged piston. They're very strong. Let me just test the fit. I'm just going to put it backwards here to see that it's a good snug fit. Yes, it is. It's tight. I can slide it in, but it's a nice tight fit. That's going to be good. But anyway, these pistons they're high performance pistons. They're forged, they're tough, they're strong. I would say the con is the wrist pin. It's just a standard wrist pin, but the pro is it's a stronger piston than the OEM piston. On bikes, there are some bikes out there that seem to split their pistons or crack them. Now usually that happens when you run old gas. Let's say you park your bike for 2 months, you pull it out and you run the same gas in your tank. Don't do that, by the way, because there is a chance you can split the piston. They typically split right along the wrist pin area. They just a crack and the bike shuts off. But there's some bikes that they do that more than others, even in good conditions. I guess the best way I can explain it is this: if my own bike ever cracked a piston, I wouldn't trust riding it again with a stock piston. I would go to a Wiseco to make sure that doesn't happen again, and obviously make sure I keep good feel in it. But just for insurance, and so I have confidence in my machine again, I would just switch to a Wiseco. So they're stronger pistons, but they do not come with the black coated wrist pin. And this black coating wrist pin is good because in the old days, as long as you kept good care of your oil changes and you warm your motor up right and you rode it right, these are fine. But when people let the oil go too long, or the motor starves from oil a little bit here and there from maybe doing wheelies too long and things like that, that's where these black ones come in play. When they start to starve on oil, it's such a smooth surface, it keeps it from kind of just tearing up the upper rod where the race is that this slides into. It kind of keeps it from just starting to work into each other and wear into each other. So that's what this is good for. This right here doesn't quite have that advantage, but as long as everything's treated properly, this will be just fine. And this is a stronger piston. So let's move forward. We got to go ahead and get the rings on it. Let me get everything situated. Oh, by the way, check this out. I got that air box all cleaned up. I took one for the team, did that off camera. To do that, I did have to actually disassemble all this, take the air box off, take it outside, hit it with a high pressure water hose, soap, and everything, get it all cleaned up, and come and put it back in. But I did that off video and put the bike right back to where it was, so that you guys that are doing this at home, y'all wouldn't have to remove that air box, so you could just pop the subframe off like I did right here. But that is clean, ready to go. I'm gonna put a clean air filter in it. Also, I noticed he had a little split in it right here, and I just, for the time being, I use 2 zip ties right here to hold this together. You can see the little crack going right across there. That'll get him by for now until he can get a new air filter box. He's already put enough money in this thing, so I'm just trying to get it up and going again for him, and then maybe down the road he can replace that. All right, and got a clean oiled air filter on, tacky oil, so that ain't gonna happen again. Gotta oil them air filters. That's a good oil if you don't mind using gloves to put on by hand. This is a good oil if you want to spray it. There's lots of good oils out there. You definitely want to look for the tacky stuff. Stuff like motor oils and stuff like that will just kind of fall to the bottom of the filter almost overnight. So you have to use a real filter oil. All right, let's go ahead and get the rings on the piston. All right, first I'm going to start with the oil ring expander. I'm going to put the closed end on the side here, or the open end I mean. I'm going to put it on the side. And I'm going to take one of the oil rings, that's just your thinnest ring. I'll put the open end on that one, on one of the front sides. Sorry about that, the phone rang. All right, where were we? Get my light on here. Okay, the expander, I have the gap on the side, you know, where the wrist pin hole is at. Then I'll pick the other side, I'll pick a front half or a rear half and put the oil ring in there with the open end on well, this one's on the front half of the piston. Then on the other side, complete opposite, I'll put the open end of that oil ring. Basically, you want to stagger everything. If you put all the gaps in a straight line, then that just kind of leaves a path for the oil to make it through. Now, the compression ring. These have a up and a down, and how you tell is they usually put a marking like this one right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera there. It says N. There's a little N right there. I hope you can see that. There's a tiny little N right there, and that's going to be faced up. And the reason being is because they put a they kind of round off the inside edge of the top side of the ring, but not the bottom side, so that the cylinder pressure can slip underneath there and expand the rings out against the cylinder under when it's under fire. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna find the top oil ring with the gap is right there, so I'll put the gap to this one completely on the other side. Again, you want to stagger it with the end faced up. Let me double check. Can I see the end? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, that piston's ready to go. Let me go ahead and slide the first circlip on it. I like to go ahead and get one circlip already in the piston before I get the piston on the bike. So I'll slide the wrist pin in here. That kind of helps me get the circlip in there. I'm going to put my finger on the other side right here and just hold the wrist pin in. And then I'll take the circlip, I'll take the open end, and I'll match it to that little groove right there. I'll just slide it in there like that. And then I'll use my finger here to, my thumb, to press it in. Let's see if I can get this on camera. I just walk it in. There it is. And then after I get it in there, I will take this and slide the open end to match that groove. There we go. In the old days, I used to say put the open end either on the top or the bottom, but back then the wrist pins were, the circlips were very underbuilt. Nowadays they're very robust, so I would rather have the whole circlip in the seat all the way around instead of having some of it in this open end, which is not going to contribute to holding it in. So that's why I put the open end where that little opening is at. Okay, so now we have this piston ready to go. Let me go ahead and slide the wrist pin back out of here. Set that over there. Let's go get the cylinder area on the bike cleaned up. All right, let me remove this. nice and gently. Clean up my workspace here. And I'm going to clean this surface up just like I cleaned up the cylinder and the cylinder head. First I'll wipe it clean, and then I'll take a flat box cutter blade and just slide it across. Any of that black gasket material I see, it'll remove that. Set a rag back over the cylinder area right here of the crank, because I'm going to blow out the holes that the head bolts go in, just so it's going to be nice and clean when we go to torque these things down. I don't need any grit or anything in there, or even fluid oil or coolant in there that might hydrolock it and knock off our torque readings when we go to torque it down. Let me wipe it back up here. There we go. Alright, let me slide the chain out so I can put it up in top dead center. There we go. I'm just going to rest the chain over the side right here, nice and gently. We were at top dead center, so yeah, let me go ahead and get the new piston and we'll pop that on. Alright, I'm going to lay this rag back around the crank area. Just in case the circlip goes flinging, dinging, and I'm going to also cover the timing chain hole here. If the clip goes flinging and dinging, the goal is to try to catch it. And if it falls in the motor, and sometimes you don't even know where they fly, and you don't know. You're looking, did it fly across your shop, or is it inside your motor? So you're sitting there with the magnet forever looking for it, and yeah, it's just better just to... Alright, here we go. The arrow right here, that's going to be faced towards the exhaust side, but you also want to verify by looking at the piston itself. The intake valves are always bigger, and you can see that these are bigger intake valve reliefs, and there's your exhaust relief, so that's the direction it goes. There's already oil in there, so we'll be okay with that. If it's bone dry, if it's a brand new crank, you might want to put a little bit of oil on it, or even assembly lube, but this one's already got oil on it, so it's going to be fine. When it comes to using assembly lube, some people like to assembly lube everything, but that's going to contaminate your oil. Assembly lube's good if the motor's going to be sitting on the shelf for a long time because it sticks around, it's real tacky. But if you're starting the motor up right away, just use motor oil if you feel like you have to lube something. Alright, let me get down here and get this thing on. You might not be able to see it on camera here because of the angle, but I'm going to be putting it back in this circlip in the same way I did the one in the bench. Boy, it's tight. Got it. Let me slide the gap of it over to the opening. There we go. Alright, now let me make a good visual that it's in the groove all the way around. And for safe measure, I'm going to go to the other side, and even though I did that on the bench, I'm going to make a visual that's all the way around before we slide this cylinder on. And lastly, just in case you have a brain fart, double check one more time that you have the piston in the right direction. Everything's looking good. Okay, we can get the cylinder base gasket on now. So I got the rag out of there, and I'm just going to slide the timing chain back into here just so it stays out of our way. I'm going to replace these two dowel pins that go on the left side. There we go. And now I'll slide the cylinder base gasket down over the piston onto the pins. There we go. Now let me go get the cylinder. Okay, I put a light coat of oil on the cylinder wall, just with my finger. I dipped it in some oil and just rubbed it on. mainly because it's a brand new cylinder. If it was a used cylinder, I wouldn't worry about it. I typically like to put my piston in dry with no coating oil and the cylinder, because it's less likely that it's going to smoke on startup, and the rings will seat in quicker. But all right, we got to slide this thing on. So I got the piston gap, or the ring gap on the back for the compression ring right there. Let me get my gloves off so I can feel better. All right, let me get on top, see if I can get this thing on. Let me check this side, make sure it's not snagging any of the oil rings. Yes, it is, right here in the back. It started to snag an oil ring, so let me start over. There's always a little friction when you go to slide them on, but if you get used to the feeling. If it starts snagging, you're gonna want to check it and make sure you don't have a oil ring that kind of jumped out of its seat. There we go. Got that on. Got a brand new piston. But anyway, like I was saying about the oil, I remember in the first video I showed you my YZ450 piston that I ran 60 hours. Let me pull this timing chain out of here and get that front guide in. But anyway, I ran that 60 hours. You can see there was virtually no wear on that piston. So there's nothing wrong with putting them in dry. It's less likely that it's going to smoke, and that's real important if you're doing this job for someone else. I'm gonna just set the timing chain right. Oh, there we go. For someone else, because what can happen is too much oil gets in between the oil rings, and it can take quite a while for that to work out. So if you saturate them piston with the oil, piston and the cylinder oil, it might make it where that thing blows smoke for quite a while, and then your customer comes and picks up the bike and it's still smoking. He's like, I paid to do a top end, why is it smoking? Just put them in dry, and it doesn't hurt anything. Remember that piston I showed you? It doesn't hurt anything. It's going to get oil right away. All it's doing is sliding down the cylinder. But when it's a new cylinder like this, because the honing is so fresh, I do like to put a little bit of coat of oil. If it smokes a little bit on initial startup, whatever, you know, that's just something we're gonna have to deal with. Most cases, it'll clear up after a couple minutes, as long as you put a very thin coat. So we got that taken care of. Let me go ahead and get the head gasket on there. Put these in place. Slide the head gasket on there. Double check one last time that your surface is clean, no dust stuck to it or anything like that. And let's go ahead and drop the cylinder head on. You want to feed it over the timing chain guides. There we go. Let me go ahead and lube the cylinder head bolts. I'm just going to dip them in some motor oil. See, I just dipped the threads in some motor oil here, and these are all the same length on this motor, so I can put these in any of the 4 holes. Doesn't really matter. Although I like to put the outside ones that are on the outside of the valve cover back on the outside, because, and you know, they get a little dirty, and it's just what I do. And the ones that go on the inside of the valve cover that stay nice and clean and shiny, I'll put them back on the inside of the cover. Alright, let me go ahead and seat them down gently, and then we'll break out the torque wrench. I do a cross pattern. I start with the left rear, then right front, then left front, then right rear. Alright, let's get the torque wrench out. Alright, the manual here says the cylinder head bolt should be at 37 foot-pounds. I'm first going to start it at 20 foot-pounds, and same thing, start with the left rear. Then I'm going to take it up to 37 foot-pounds. It should be 37 right there. Yes, it is. There we go. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to go back through it one more time and just double check them. All right, now I'm going to put that 8mm, the long one that went down by the timing chain area. I'm going to put that in there. I put a dab of Loctite on it just to be safe. Anything that goes inside the motor, I like to use Loctite on. You know, if you lose one of your bolts to hold your clutch cover on, it's not a big deal. But if you lose a bolt inside the motor, you don't want that. All right. Alright, for me the next thing is going to be getting the throttle body back on the cylinder. That way I don't have to worry about accidentally bumping the subframe anymore or anything. Get everything kind of locked in. There we go. Let me get the subframe bolts in. At least the top ones, get them finger tight, kind of hold it in place. Okay, got the top subframe bolts in. Let me make sure that throttle body went all the way on. Yes, it did. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and tighten, put the bottom subframe bolts in, tighten the subframe bolts, and then I'm going to tighten the throttle body, the clamp that holds the boot to the throttle body. So let me go ahead and take care of that. Okay, the subframe's on, and the intake boot is clamped down. Let me go ahead and connect this coolant sensor back up here before I forget. I might as well go ahead and put the clutch cable back on now and tighten all this stuff up. Actually, first let me tighten this up here. Then we'll get the clutch cable back on. There we go. Oh, should have pulled that out ahead of time. We'll be starting up in a few minutes here, guys. First startup's going to be interesting. She should do good. I'm going to fill her up some motor oil now before I forget. Just get it out of the way, that way I don't forget. CRF450R. This stuff is great for your dirt bike. You know, you can buy the stuff Honda says that's on the shelf, but that stuff's meant for also street bikes that have catalytic converters. Anything that has a catalytic converter in it, the EPA has kind of demanded that they remove certain elements, and some of these elements are kind of essential for a high performance vehicle. So, but the diesel oils still have all that in there, like the zinc and stuff like that. So you can't go wrong with the diesel oil or a high-end racing oil that says for closed course competition use only. Them are the only two oils I'd run in these high performance bikes. I wouldn't run car oil or your regular motorcycle oil that's also meant to be used in street bikes. I just wouldn't trust it. Oh my God, you're using diesel oil in a dirt bike. Yeah, have you seen my cam journals on my 450? Have you seen how good they look? I guess you haven't, because I ain't had to get in the motor and show you. But when I get in there, yeah, this oil, there's virtually no wear on anything. It's really good oil. Alright, let me check it again. And have you seen my 60-hour piston? That was all on CRF450R. Alright, we're getting there. Alright, let me go ahead and situate this radiator, get that bolted back down and the coolant line hooked back up. Okay, got all that hooked up with also this hooked up. Let's say we go ahead and get the camshafts in and get the timing chain and everything all timed in. On the right side of the motor here, I'm going to want to remove this little cover. This takes a 10mm Allen. It's best to use a ratchet Allen, type Allen like this on these things. In here we'll have access to spin the crank, but also it will let us know when we are at top dead center. Alright, the motor's pretty much close to top dead center right now, but what you can do is you stick a I believe, yeah, it's an 8mm Allen right here on the crank bolt, and you can spin the motor. Now be cautious, the timing chain on the other side, you're going to want to lift it up and hold it up by hand when you do that. We'll do that in a second, but what I'm trying to show you here is, you see these two lines? There's one right there and one right there. If you look above them, you'll see a T and an F. That means this line right here is top, and this F is fire. So don't worry about the F. You only want to worry about the top. That's top dead center. And then you see right here that little pointy thing. What you want to do is spin the crank until that pointy thing lines up with that line on the left that says T for top. Right now you can see it's kind of in the middle of the two, so I'm gonna have to move the crank just a little bit and get it lined up. So let's go ahead and do that. On this on this side, I'll use my magnet, stick it in here, grab the timing chain, pull it out. For the time being, I'm just going to hang over the edge. But when I go to spin this motor on the other side, what you're not going to see on camera, but I'll tell you that I'm doing it, is I'm going to reach up in here, grab this timing chain, and hold it straight up and down like that on my hand, on my fingers, as if it was on the camshaft. And when I spin the crank, I'll continue just to hold it up and let it slide across my fingers. The reason being, if you don't do that, it'll get binded up on the gear down there, and you don't want that. Alright, I'm back on this side. Let me go and stick my 8mm Allen on the crank bolt. I know I have to spin it clockwise just a hair. I'm going to reach over here, grab the timing chain, lift it up, hold it up with my thumb, and then I'm going to spin the crank until the marks line up on the T. There we go. And set the timing chain back down, and I'll show you. Get the timing, the light in here. You can see that the mark with the T on it. See the T up there? Lines up with that little arrow right there. So let's go to the other side, put the cam in, and set the cam timing. Before I get started with this, I'm going to verify that all my shims, my valve shims, are still sitting in their seats like they're supposed to, and one didn't jump out while I was putting the head on. Alright, on your camshaft you have two marks, two lines. See that line right there and that line right there? When the motor's at top dead center, like we currently have it at, where the marks line up that I showed you on the other side, them marks on the camshaft, them lines should be equal to the mating surface right here of the cam cap. So I prefer to do that. I prefer to set it in with the lines and the lobes faced up while I do that, so it doesn't have to compress a valve when I go to bolt the head, the cam cap on. So make sure your cam lobes are faced up, and that these lines right here lined up with the surface there. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me pull out the cam chain here. I'm gonna slide this. Remember when I took the cam off, I slid this bearing forward like that to help lower the cam gear to get the chain on it. I'm gonna do the same, putting it back on. And then I'll slide the cam gear back over into a seat. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so I got a line here and a line there. We're way off. Let's move it a little bit. I slid that bearing back over to allow the cam gear to drop back down some. Went way too far that way. I'll get it. Let's see where we're at here. One more maybe. Let's see where we're at. All right, let me go to the other side and first verify that hasn't moved off the top dead center. Let me do that real quick. Okay, she's still on top dead center, so that's good. Now your chain tensioner goes on this side. The chain on this side, this is the side that's pulling it down. That doesn't have a tensioner, it's always going straight. So what you want to do is stick your finger in here and press it to tighten up the chain while also holding the camshaft down up top. So make sure the camshaft's perfectly down and centered. Hold it down, stick your finger here, and then look at your timing mark to see where you're at. It looks like I'm right on. Yeah, appears to be that I am right on. So let's go ahead and put the cam cap on, then we'll put the cam chain tensioner in, and then we'll double check the cam timing. All right, the camera angles are gonna be tough right here, but you remember these things? Well, it's time to put them back on to the top of the bearings. I'm gonna slide both the bearings towards each other, towards the center, and then again I'm gonna try to put the cam will slide a little left and right. I'm gonna try to put it in the position it's supposed to be. You can usually see little marks right here where this groove, where these went in or at, and that kind of lets you know which. Or you can even look at the cam where it rides on, where the rocker arm roller right here rides on the exhaust lobes, and that'll let you know if you got it right position. All right, 1/2 moon right here. There we go. Got the other one. Pop that one on. All right, let me grab the cam cap. Get the cam cap here. If it doesn't just pop on, lift it up slowly and see what's going on. You might not have had everything lined up properly. I'm gonna try that again, because remember you have these pins right here that also have to go in their holes. So you're lining these up with this up, and it all needs to just slide down. Still give me a. And anytime you lift that the cam cap back up, you always lift it to the left or the right of the bike, just in case it drops. It doesn't drop into the timing chain area. Okay, try it again. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Usually this just goes right into place for me, but when I'm filming sometimes, you know, it's a little bit more difficult when you're filming. There it is. Alright, got her on there. Woo! Now I'm going to look down these holes. Remember I showed you on the bench in the first video when I was adjusting the valves, some little pins that go in here that hold the finger followers and the rocker arms on. I want to make sure that the little indexing area that the bolt goes through is in the proper position, that we'll just be able to drop the bolts in, and it looks like it is. So I'm going to put a dab of Loctite on these bolts and let's drop them in. Okay, got some Loctite on them. Time to drop these suckers on in here. There we go. Then I'll use this just to seat them down. Then I'll tighten them down by hand. There are torque specs for these, and it is written in your manual. Although I've been doing this for a lot of years, so my hand's pretty calibrated. I really only use a torque wrench mainly on head bolts and stuff like that. But you gotta be careful. These are easy to strip out, so if you are the type of person that strips stuff out, or you just don't have a calibrated hand, it doesn't hurt to break out the torque wrench for these. Looks like I got them pretty good. Basically, just bottom them out and snug them up pretty good. If you go any further than that, you're going to start pulling threads, and you don't want to do that. Okay, we got to set up the cam chain tensioner. Remember in part 1 where I mentioned to loosen this before you remove it? Well, this is why. So when it's on the bench, you can just take it out by hand. Otherwise, you have to put it in a vise and all that kind of crap. Alright, inside of here, there's a flathead. Stick a real skinny flathead in there, and you spin it, and you'll see the plunger retracts. So there's two ways to do this. You can either bottom it out and give it a little tug, and you'll see it stayed retracted. And then once you get it on the bike and you get it bolted down, you just loosen it, and it does that. That's one way to do it. And then there's another way. If you have the tool, you bottom it out lightly, you hold it down with your thumb, you take this little thing right there, you slide it in there, and see, it bites and holds it down for us. So I'm going to do that route for this video since I do have that tool, but if you don't, you can bottom it out hard. It does have a self-locking mechanism. So let's go ahead and get it on the bike. Okay, back at the bike here, got the timing chain tensioner with the plunger retracted. Got a brand new gasket on it right here. So make sure that it doesn't say up anywhere on it. This one doesn't. Some of your models, they do. There we go. And then I'll put the two bolts in that hold it down and bolt them down. Just get on it with a swivel here. And the other bolt. Okay, I got them all tightened up. Now I can just remove this. You'll hear the chain tensioner extend. There it goes, and the chain tightened up. And I'll replace that little 8mm cap on the end. If you don't replace that, they'll dribble oil out of there. I'm going to remove the old spark plug and leave it out for a minute. I will be putting a new spark plug in it, but I'm going to leave it out so I can turn the motor by hand easily and make sure everything feels good. Back on the other side, I'm going to take my 6mm Allen, put it on the crank here, and I'm going to spin the crank 2 full rotations. So that'll make sure that the intake valves have a chance to open and close once, and the exhaust valves. And I'm going to stop back at the top dead center, lining up the line to that T again. All I'm doing is making sure there's no bind. If I run into any bind, then I need to recheck. That means a valve hit the piston. You don't want to rely on the starter letting you know that a valve's hitting the piston, because you will bend it. But if you do it by hand, you can catch it early before there's any damage. Okay, I got it lined back up the top. So let's go to the other side and make sure the cam timing held. Looks like it did. The marks are still lined up with the mating surface. So yeah, we are good there. Now I'll pop a brand new spark plug in her. And now I'll put that cap back on. We're pretty much done doing the cam timing. So I can cap this thing back off. Next I'll put the ignition coil on. The valve cover. Alright, let's pop the valve cover back on. I'm going to leave the gasket on it and just try to put it all together as one piece. Remember, it was a tight fit getting it out. I expect it to be a tight fit getting it in. Oh, the gasket just came off. Let's see if I can get it back on while it's still down here. Let me pull that hose out of the way. Alright, let me make sure the gasket's sealed all the way around. It's in the seat. Yes, it is. Alright, let me go replace the 2 Allens that hold that in. Okay, got the 2 Allens in, connected the hose with the little clip here. Do not over tighten these. These are super easy to strip out. And then you might be having to replace your cam cap or whatever. Just don't over tighten. Don't strip them out. Spark plug boot is in. Alright, of course I got the ignition coil in too. So, what's next? Alright, went ahead and put the motor mounts on, the one on this side and one on the other side, and connected the battery back up, as well as connected it to the battery charger. I have a feeling this battery was a little bit low, so let that get a charge while we continue putting it together. I think I'll go ahead and get the gas tank on her now. Alright. Yeah, get that off. I'm first going to disconnect the fuel line, the shorter line. Push the clip back in, the green clip on it. Then I'll connect the electrical connector. It goes. Where does that sucker go? Oh, right here. Duh. This clips right in here. Oh, actually, it clips in on the other side. My bad. There we go. I'll run this on over here. Alright, remember we have this leash to hook up too. We'll worry about that in a minute. Alright, let me fish that leash back up here. If this was my bike, honestly, I just keep these leashes off. They're a pain in the butt. But this is not my bike. So I'm gonna resort to putting it back the way Honda had it set up. Just use a pair of needle nose here and work that sucker on in there. Alright, got it in there. So that's back to being leashed. I almost forgot to put this back on. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. There we go. I'll replace the hardware for the tank now. Get that bolted down. Okay, the tank's on and in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and bolt the exhaust system back on. The exhaust system is back on. I also filled her up with coolant. Let me go ahead and get the plastic and the seat on her, and we'll go ahead and fire her up. Alright, first fire up. Let's see how she does. I have her full of coolant, motor oil, the battery's charged up. Let's turn the choke on and hit the button. So far so good, no check engine lights, she's just purring. I'm going to let her just sit here and idle, get fully warmed up, and make sure all the gaskets sealed good and there's no water leaks or anything like that. Well, so far so good. I'm just checking around the cylinder, head gasket area, also the cylinder base gasket. Make sure no oil or water leaks pop up. Right over here. There you have it, guys. Another one saved. Gonna do 3 good heat cycles. A heat cycle is just when you let it idle for the most part, and you can roll in the throttle a little bit here and there. I would try to avoid like sharp blips, just brrr, brrr, and let it get fully up to temperature. You can either keep track by putting your hand on the top of the radiator right here until it gets really, really hot, or you can use one of these thermal light things right here and find the hottest part of the radiator and whatever that reads and get that to about 180 degrees and then shut her down, let her cool down for about 15 minutes, then do another heat cycle. Do that 3 good heat cycles, and then take it to, while you're doing heat cycles, keep track of your coolant level, make sure it's staying up. Make sure no oil leaks or coolant leaks pop up around the head gasket and the cylinder base gasket. If everything checks out good, take it to the track or wherever you're going to ride. On the first ride, make it a shorter ride, about 8 to 10 minutes long, and try to avoid sustained full throttle. It's okay to get full throttle for short little bursts, like to get over a jump or something, but just try to avoid them long, like long 5th gear stretches where you're just staying pinned the whole time. Give the piston some time to break in. Run them for about 8 to 10 minutes like that, just kind of easy. Come back, let it cool down again, check the coolant one more time, check for leaks one more time. If everything looks good, everything's good, well, at that point you can give her all the beans. She's ready to go. While doing your heat cycles, be real cautious not to let it run too long. As you know, these 4-strokes can overheat pretty quickly just idling on the stand. All it takes is about 3 or 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and the top of this radiator will get pretty warm, pretty hot, and that's enough. If you run it any longer than that, it might start pushing coolant out the overflow, and at that point you overheat her. You don't want to overheat her. So remember, just about 3 to 5 minutes is all it takes. I will stress for you guys one more time, it is important to break in the piston, to do the 3 heat cycles, and especially on that first ride, to take it easy. I have seen people put in new pistons, or I put in new pistons for people, and they've gone out and done 5th gear stretches right away, no break in, held it pinned, and literally the piston expands when it gets hot, and expanded too quick, rubbed the cylinder walls too hard, started melting the side of the piston, and that aluminum got up into the piston rings, loses compression, boom, it's out. Then I have to put a new piston in it, clean the melted piston off the cylinder, and start over. So just break it in nice and easy so that don't happen to you. I appreciate all you guys that watch this and all my subscribers. As you probably already figured out, this channel is not like a viral channel or anything like that. I'm making these videos for maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people out there. I mean, I got 3,000 subscribers, but it's not a huge channel. So I really appreciate every single one of you guys that watch this. I appreciate when y'all leave comments and stuff, especially when I hear someone say that the video helped them get through the job. That's just awesome, and it kind of motivates me to make more of these videos. So once again, I appreciate every single one of you guys. This weekend, as I mentioned in the first part of this video, I will be riding Dade City MX on Sunday. It's the extended track. I'll be taking out the YZ125, so maybe I'll see some of you guys out there. But if I don't, I hope whoever you are, I hope you have a good weekend of riding. Keep it safe. Make sure you keep your air filter clean and oil, and make sure you keep up with your oil changes. Catch you next time.